Hello, today I'm going to tell you how the Porter's Five Forces model is used. The Porter's Five Forces model is used to analyze a firm's competitive environment and identify the most important competitive force for a company. It uses 5 key forces to determine the overall profit potential of an industry. We have competitive rivalry in the middle, then we have bargaining power of customers, threat of substitutes, bargaining power of suppliers, and threat of entry. Now, if the surrounding forces are really strong, the competitive rivalry will also be strong. In this instance, if the competitive rivalry is strong, the market will be deemed less attractive. I'll begin by explaining competitive rivalry. So the competitive rivalry is the intense competition between existing competitors. High competition puts pressure on firms to cut their prices, which leads to reduced margins. The competitive rivalry is greatest when there is slow market growth and when the exit barrier is high. The exit barrier is the costs incurred when a firm tries to leave the market. Therefore, if the exit barrier is high and it costs the company a lot to leave the market, it will hold on until they are forced out, thereby increasing competition. Moving on to bargaining power of customers. The bargaining power of customers is greatest when A buyer purchases a large proportion of total trade in that market, B, there are many alternative sources of supply, and C, there are low switching costs. Okay, moving on to threat of substitutes. The threat of substitutes can occur across industries, in example, rail travel v bus travel, or within industries, in example, the soda industry, where you have Coca-Cola v Pepsi. Bargaining power of suppliers. This is greatest when there are few suppliers, few substitutes, and high switching costs. Threats of entry. Now, the more entries there are into a market, the more competition there is. The threat of entry will depend upon the strength of the barriers of entry. And the barriers of entry include, number 1, capital requirement. This is the amount of money that a company needs to spend in order to get involved in the market. Number 2, product differentiation. Well-established firms have a good image and customer loyalty. And number 3, economies of scale. This occurs in industries where the unit cost decline as the volume of units produced increases. Okay, so now you understand the 5 forces of the Porter's Five Forces model. I will now use an example. So for this example, we will use McDonald's, which is the famous fast food chain. So for McDonald's, its competitive rivalry is very high as it competes with the likes of Burger King. Its bargaining power of customers is low as each customer's purchase represents a very small proportion of McDonald's total revenue. The threat of substitutes is medium. McDonald's has many substitutes, in example, kebabs. Bargaining power of suppliers. This is also low as McDonald's buys its goods from many different suppliers. Threats of entry for McDonald's. This is also low. The main barriers to entry here are, number 1, economies of scale, and number 2, product differentiation. McDonald's has become a well-established brand, which now has a good brand image. So to summarize, the key issue here for McDonald's is competitive. I hope this helps you understand the Porter's Five Forces model.